when everyone in the classroom, teacher, and students recognizes that they are responsible for creating a learning community together, learning is at its most meaningful and useful. This is a quote from activist, novelist, and Black feminist theorist Bell Hooks. It is also the cornerstone of my own personal teaching philosophy. And it is the cornerstone of what we will be talking about today, creating connection, building collaborative and supporting learning communities. Good morning. I am Katrina Overby, an assistant professor in the School of Communication at RIT. I am approaching 15 years of college instruction, right? That's a lot of years. And in 2023, I attended tech ed just like you. After it left such an impression on me, I couldn't wait to get back here and share in some of the knowledge and learning with you all again. Now, I might think that I create inclusive classrooms, but I'd like you to hear from my students themselves, just from a couple in my public speaking course. One student said, "Thank you for a wonderful semester, Dr. Ko. I thoroughly enjoyed the class, and your feedback has been immensely constructive and helpful. I hope you have a wonderful holiday." Another said, "I've also decided to enroll in advanced public speaking for the next semester to continue my learning and develop the necessary skills to become a better public speaker. I did not expect to enjoy this class as much as I did. Thank you, Dr. Ko." Well, and another one mentioned my fashionable earrings. So you can tell what kind of instructor I might be in the classroom. Today, my goal is to talk about a few things. One, why building classroom community is imperative for inclusivity. Two, the challenges to building quote unquote safe spaces. Three, how you tap into community. And four, some takeaway tips for you to hopefully take back to your campus and to continue talking about with other instructors. First, building classroom community is imperative for inclusivity. But it's first important to know what we even mean by community in the classroom. So a basic definition that you all can use as we go throughout the workshop is that community in the classroom refers to the sense of belonging, trust, and mutual respect that fosters open dialogue, collaboration, and growth among students and the instructor. So it is more than a buzzword. It's also the foundation of a thriving and inclusive learning environment. When we think about community, we also should be thinking about belonging, inclusivity, and what it actually means to be a safe environment. And we should understand that instructors play a key role, if not the first role, in fostering that classroom culture. And so one of the keys is being able to define this for yourself and your courses. And so a few reasons you might wonder why understanding community in the classroom is important is because belonging matters. Students feel more motivated and empowered when they feel like they belong in the classroom. Oftentimes their mental well-being and their retention is linked to this community, to this belonging. And finally, it enhances our own instruction, our course objectives, and our course outcomes. So the first thing I want you to do is think to yourself, if you have a piece of paper or on the notepad in front of you, take just 1 minute to jot down what some of the benefits are that you've noticed as an instructor when you do build community in your classroom. So for the most part, we've been thinking about students, benefits for students. What are the benefits for instructors? So we won't share these out, but keep this close to you and think about this as we move through the presentation. Now, I believe that all of us know that there are challenges to building safe spaces. Let's be honest, we all know that everyone isn't safe, and our students know this as well. And so some of these challenges look like the following. Instructors are challenged by the diverse perspectives within their classrooms, the backgrounds and experiences, and the learning styles of their students. Second, some instructors do not know how to navigate their implicit biases about their students. Next, there's a resistance to vulnerability, not just for students sharing, but instructors sharing who they are in the classroom. And finally, there's a difficulty in overcoming performative allyship. And a part of that performative allyship is not knowing exactly what we mean when we say a safe space. So we want to move toward intentional, brave spaces. So the first thing is it's important to be clear about the language that we use and the actions that we take when we're talking about safe and brave classrooms. 2, we risk becoming performative and unintentional when we don't know what we mean. And so we should be considering how to move from safe spaces toward brave spaces. And this term was coined by Brian Arrow and Kristen Clemens in 2013 in their chapter From Safe Spaces to Brave Spaces in the book, The Art of Effective Facilitation, Reflections from Social Justice Educators. And so we're going to talk about what the 5 elements of a brave space actually are. The first 2, controversy with civility, is where varying opinions on topics are accepted. 2, owning intentions and impacts, in which students and instructors can acknowledge and discuss instances where dialogue has affected the emotional well-being of another person in the classroom. 3, challenge by choice, where students have an option to step in and out of challenging conversations. And so in some of my classrooms on communication and identity, we often talk about race and class and, a host of different topics. And so in order for students to not feel as if they have to always tap into those heavy conversations, I allow them, to have some space if they need to step out. I try to give trigger warnings when there are really sensitive topics coming up, and I also allow students to step in or out of the classroom for those. Then there's respect, where students just show respect for one another's basic personhood. We sort of get in the classroom and I build a foundation where we all know that we're all humans with varying levels of experiences and things happening all at the same time while we're all still here trying to learn. And no attacks, where students agree not to intentionally inflict harm on one another. And I know it says students, but it should apply to instructors as well. And you can find this information from a 2017 NASPA Policy and Practice Series report in issue 2 titled Safe Spaces and Brave Spaces, Historical Context and Recommendations for Student Affairs Professionals. Now that we've talked about some of the challenges to a safe classroom and possibly some of the challenges for what it means for students to belong in a classroom, I want you to think about one barrier for you in creating a brave space or belonging in the classroom. For this activity, you actually will talk with someone next to you. So take about 20 seconds to think about this if you haven't had a chance to think about what those barriers are before you share out with the person next to you. So just from these conversations alone, it should be clear that the barriers to creating brave spaces is not really an individual challenge. Oftentimes it's a collective challenge, both for ourselves, sometimes for our students, them trusting the methods that we're using in order to get them to engage with one another and ourselves. So again, continue to think about those conversations you just had with the people next to you. What I want to share is a term that I'm coining TAP. And I want to share how you tap into community using transparency, authenticity, and proxy. T is for transparency. That is the who I am and what I expect from them and why I have these expectations. So when we're going over the syllabus, I make it very clear to insert a section that talks about my expectations of them, not just in the course and how they complete assignments, but in how they treat one another and how they treat conversation in the classroom. I also let them know what they can expect from me. So not just in terms of how I'm assessing them, but also in terms of the feedback that I'll give them or communication when I make mistakes in the classroom. And so I often start most of my classes with a house cleaning slide where we not just talk about what's coming up, what's due, but it's an opportunity for me to share if I've miscommunicated any assignment deadlines or any expectations in the assessments, and I have an opportunity to be a bit vulnerable with them, right? I let them know that I am someone who can make mistakes, and I do make them, and it's best to address them up front. And so transparency can look like a number of things in the classroom, but for me, it starts with expectations, and I let them know who I am as an instructor, and I let them know what my teaching philosophy is. The A, it stands for authenticity, and so this is how we show up and how we invite our students to show up. Our experiences and perspectives enhance our interaction with each other. Sharing my own experiences often extends the lesson for students. I use points of failure as moments to teach them how I took something that was a failure of mine and turned it into success, or how I'm still working through different issues, even in academia, in the research that I'm producing. So I often come in and tell them what I have going on. People say I overshare, and that's okay, but it gets them to a point where they can also share with me. They trust that I'm trusting them with key points in my life and sharing those with them, and so they take that and they start sharing with each other, especially in group assignments. And I also let them know that their stories are important to their assignments. So whether it's a public speaking class, we should be hearing from you, right, in these speeches. When it's my communication and identity course, you should be presenting us with a positionality statement that lets us know how you're analyzing your research and why you've come to the interpretations that you have. And then the P is for proxy. So this is the intersection of theory and practice. And this is about applying what we believe to how we teach. And so I become the example in the classroom for students. And so we don't just talk about our values, but we become our values. And we allow students to see that. A few takeaway tips that I have for you moving toward a brave space or toward belonging: think outside of the box. For example, I'll be experimenting with iClicker soon to increase collective engagement and quizzing in my classrooms. Attend inclusive methods trainings and seminars, so it's essential to continue building your network with instructors who are also seeking to grow and develop, just like we're doing here at Tech Ed. And P, give yourself permission to shake things up. Allow yourself to try methods, even if they don't work. I often come into the classroom like, we're going to try something today, and you all just have to roll with it. Like, is that okay with you? And they're all like, let's see how it goes, right? And so I get some feedback from them, and I ask them how they felt on the other end of the instruction as well. So I'm sort of building some of the approaches and assignments with the students as well. So don't be afraid to shake things up. And then S, always share what you're learning with others. Share your insights, be open to learning from other instructors, and just kudos for being here, learning and sharing already. The last activity I would like for you to do is on your way out. Please share one tip for building community and brave spaces on a Post-it note and add it to our board. You can also share one way you plan to incorporate something that you've learned in this workshop or any of the others in order to foster community and belonging in your classroom. Thank you for attending and engaging.